The Los Angeles Rams defeat the Arizona Cardinals and have a really good chance to clinch the division today on Sunday. We're going to get into the details about that. We're also going to talk about the game in general, Arizona versus the Rams. Some concerns we have for the Rams moving forward into the playoffs, but mostly talking about the game, the score, and who to watch on Sunday if you guys haven't caught up with who we need to win for the rest of the weekend. All on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, as 88.4% of you guys are still not subscribed. We appreciate the ones who are coming and watching the videos, but still not subscribed to the channel. So just hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing, right? And it'll allow you to continue to see daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. Let's get into this right now because the games are happening. So I want to get this video out for you guys as soon as possible so you can kind of know who you're rooting for most of these games in the afternoon and maybe even into Monday. We'll talk about the teams we need to root for. So let's get into this right off the bat. Right, chance to clinch the division, and this is all because they beat the Arizona Cardinals. Now, we talked about this. This is why the Arizona Cardinals game was so important. Of course, you know, you just want to beat a division rival in general. You want to win every single game. As we know, like we knew a couple weeks ago, if the Rams just went out, the Rams would, of course, win the division. But winning and beating the Arizona Cardinals after all that's happened with the Seattle Seahawks has really helped the Rams have a really solid chance to clinch the division here today on Sunday. So Rams on verge of NFC West title after spectacular interception by Ahkello Witherspoon. I did want to give a shout out to Ahkello Witherspoon, as obviously that play, if you guys didn't see it, was incredible. Kind of an interesting situation from the Cardinals' perspective. I think they're in a situation where they're trying to be aggressive. Obviously, their guy, Trey McBride, was having an incredible game. We'll go over the stats in a bit. So that's who they targeted on that last play. But it was first down. There was 45 seconds left. To be honest, watching the game, I really thought it was over for the Rams. I thought this is probably going to be a really, really tight race for this NFC West, and the Seattle Seahawks were going to have a really good chance to possibly win. Not saying that they would beat the Rams in a head-on-head matchup, but from the Seattle Seahawks perspective, we talked about this, right? We did look at it from the Seahawks perspective the other day, and if you're a Seahawks fan, just the Arizona Cardinals winning would have given you so much hope that, hey, all we have to do is go in and beat the Rams, and we can win this division. Now, yes, the Seahawks still have to beat the Rams, but it's a little more muddy for them as they're rooting for a lot of things to go right for next week's game to even matter for the Seahawks. And we've been talking about this for the last couple of episodes here on the Rams Digest, so you guys are well aware. But the biggest thing I really want to talk about is this interception was incredible. Just to dive and catch the ball and just lay your body on the line, stay in bounds. All right, shout out to Ahkello Witherspoon, just kind of coming up with an incredible play. But if you're the Arizona Cardinals, I don't understand why in that specific situation you wouldn't just run the ball out. There's 45 seconds left. You have a couple timeouts, first down and goal on about the 4 or 5 yard line. Just run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Hopefully the clock goes down to there's almost zero. And of course, you need a touchdown regardless. So if you have to throw on the last possession, it is what it is. But I didn't really understand that call to try to just go ahead and hit Trey McBride for the touchdown. It did hit him in the helmet, to be fair. If you're a Cardinals fan out there watching this, if you're a Seahawks fan watching this, as well, rooting for that to happen. But it is what it is. Rams fans are ecstatic at the fact that they did decide to throw the ball. It gets popped up in the air. Ahkello Witherspoon, game-winning interception, which essentially could possibly really put a nail in the coffin for the Seattle Seahawks. Still a little bit of hope, but it's very slim hope if you're a Seahawks fan. So let's pull up some more stuff here. We talk about the game in general first. 9-13 was your final score. The Rams improved to 10-6. And again, we just have to acknowledge they were 1-4. I mean, I think we really need to put that in perspective because a 9-7 record just kind of looked a little ugly, right? It just didn't look good. Or 9-6 before this game, right? It didn't look too great. It's not too great of a record when you're just kind of initially looking at it. You don't look at that team and say, oh my God, they're a scary team. But they are sitting there at 10-6 now, and all of a sudden it looks a little bit prettier. It looks a little bit nicer for the Rams. It looks like a playoff team once you get to that 10-win mark. But again, the Rams started 1-4. Can't harp on this enough. 1-4 to 10-6. Shout out to Sean McVay and the rest of his coaching staff. Shout out to the players for continuing to believe in one another and play their hearts out to get to a 10-6 record. They are playing well, playing good football. We do have have a little bit of concerns, right? Now we're getting to a point on offense. We talked about on defense. The last 5 games now, 4 out of the last 5 games, the Rams have held the opponent to under 15 points, right? Going back to the New Orleans Saints game, New Orleans Saints under 15 points. The Bills ended up scoring, over 40 points in that game, even though the Rams won. But then you go and you have a 6-point game for the Niners. You have a 9-point game from the Jets, and now you have a 9-point game from the Arizona Cardinals. The defense is playing well, and December in general, I think teams kind of slow down offensively just because teams are playing so hard. Playoff battles, we understand how that goes. Sometimes you have the high-scoring playoff battles, but I think defensive games kind of tend to be a key when it comes down to the playoffs, right? Just hard, it's a very tough time to play football, I think, in December and January. But we are talking about Los Angeles, right? We're talking about SoFi Stadium. We're talking about the indoor stadium. I thought the Rams could have a little bit more of a spark on offense. Shout out to Puka Nacua in my fantasy championship. He still played well, even though the offense in general just didn't look too great, right? It looked like the Rams were okay settling for punt after punt after punt after punt, playing that, as the commentators were kind of saying, right? If you guys listen to, I think it was Rich Eisen and I'm blanking on who else was a commentator right now. But it was, it was nice to see, and they even said it themselves, right? It was like they were not nice to see. It wasn't really that nice to see, to be honest. But it was interesting to see that they were playing that field position battle, right? They were kind of playing back and forth, the field position battle, and it was interesting, intriguing to see that Sean McVay kind of seemed okay, kind of settling for punt after punt after punt. Now there was times where it just didn't really make sense to even try to go for it, and there was times where maybe you would question it, but it wasn't really that unreasonable to punt. Ultimately, it just felt like a very slow scoring offensive game. Offensive wasn't really playing that well altogether in the game, and so I think it just was a little bit boring of a game, and I think kind of concerning at some point of saying, why can't we move the ball against this Arizona Cardinals defense? Now, the Arizona Cardinals were playing very, very well. Got to give them their credit, and we'll pull up some stats for them right now. But ultimately, it was just a very slow, hard-to-watch game to start the game for sure, if you ask me. I mean, at least personally watching the game. And it was interesting, right? We talked about this a couple games ago with the Jets. It felt like the Jets had the ball a lot. It felt like the Jets were kind of running the football out or just kind of really holding on to the time of possession really, really well and overall outgaining the Rams yardage-wise. That's what it felt like, and at the end, the team stats did look that way. Looking at the Arizona Cardinals, they did kind of the same thing, and that's what's so special about what the Rams are doing, winning games despite some of these stats. They lost in total yards. Arizona Cardinals outgained the Rams total yards-wise. Passing yards-wise, they outpassed them, right? More passing yards than the Rams. They had more rushing yards than the Rams. They had more yards per play than the Rams. They had more first downs than the Rams. Time of possession, they killed it. Better third down efficiency, slightly not as good fourth down efficiency, and that's kind of what was the telling stat for the Jets game as well, right? But look at all these, sacks allowed, of course. Obviously, the Rams doing pretty good, getting to Kyler Murray, punting the ball. They punted less times than the Rams. All this stuff was just so interesting. Now, the 2 turnovers from the Arizona Cardinals offense is obviously what ended up being the end result, kind of ending the game for the Cardinals. But just very interesting numbers when you look at these last couple games from the Rams. They're not really playing better football than the other team. They are just taking more advantage of certain opportunities more than the other teams, it seems like, in these last couple of games. And so, can the Rams really continue to do this? Can you continue to put up 13 points, 19 points in a game and win? And when it comes down to the playoff matchups, who knows? But at this moment in time, like I said, the defense is playing well. They're flying all over the place. Defenses in general are playing well in the NFL, at least seem to be. And so that's kind of an interesting I just remembered who was the commentator, by the way. Don't hate me, Kurt Warner. It was Rich Eisen, I think, and Kurt Warner. I sound like Rich Eisen. I might be tripping if that's not Rich Eisen. I don't think Rich Eisen's commentating games, but it sounded like him for a second. But yes, Kurt Warner was also commenting the game. Sorry, finally got that. But yeah, just interesting numbers. Interesting numbers overall from the Rams. So I think there are some Rams fans, and I did see some comments actually in yesterday's video of people saying, like, you know what, Sean McVay is not a good coach, and we can't score, and we can't move the ball, and Matthew Stafford's not good at quarterback. I saw someone a little bit upset in the comments. And so I think that's interesting, right? I think Rams fans may be a little bit frustrated sometimes when you see those things. But at the end of the day, what's the name of the game? Winning football games, and they're winning football games right now. So let's move on to the next screenshots we have here. As we have Rams, Sean McVay saying he will be scoreboard watching this Sunday with Los Angeles Rams. In a situation right now where they need the scoreboard watch. They need a few teams to win to help them clinch a playoff spot. Right now, at this moment in time, the Buffalo Bills are one of those teams, and they're at winning 12-0 versus the New York Jets at halftime. We'll pull up the screen. I had a screenshot, or actually, I can show you guys in a bit. But ultimately, we have a few teams to watch, and we're going to break down and talk about who Sean McVay is probably watching today. As right now, at this moment, the only team playing actively is the Buffalo Bills that the Rams would love to see win because of the strength of victory issue. And if you guys are confused by that, essentially what it means is if the Seahawks win next week, they would just tie their record with the Rams, and so the next battle would be strength of schedule, and the Seahawks would have kind of a steep hill to climb in terms of strength of schedule. The Rams have had just a better strength of schedule in general, and so with a couple of wins from teams that the Rams beat, it would actually help, or teams that the Rams played with this season, it would actually help the Rams' case in terms of strength of schedule, which is why they only need, I think, 3 teams to win out of like 5 more to play this weekend. So that happens, then they'll be in the playoffs already before they have their matchup versus the Seahawks. The Seahawks game wouldn't really matter for them at all, and we'll talk about what those games are specifically right here as we pull up this quote real quick from Sean McVay first. No, I'm just going to put my head in the sand. That's what he was talking about when they asked him, are you going to be scoreboard watching? He said, no, I'm just going to put my head in the sand. What the hell kind of question is that, essentially, is what he's saying. Yes, I'll be watching tomorrow. If there's a chance that we could win the division, I'm going to pay attention to that. And I think, yeah, all of us, right? All of us might be in that situation. Hey, let's check the score. Let's at least check the scores of these games. I said this a couple weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago. I don't want to be sitting and watching every single one of these games, but if I can have the opportunity to, which I'm about to go and watch some of these games right now after this, I'll watch the games here and there. But I really am paying attention to scoreboards. I want to see what the final scores are looking like. I want to see if we can get those 3 wins to officially go through, and the Rams can officially make that announcement. I'm sure like Adam Schefter or someone will give us a notification on Twitter or something like that saying that the Rams officially clinch the division. So we're hoping we can have that happen by 4 or 5 p.m. tonight. Right, so those afternoon games are pretty big time, and so we'll talk about what games those are right here. We'll pull those up here. I have a screenshot for you guys just to remind you, for those who are curious or those who haven't seen these yet. Buffalo Bills 10-point favorite versus the Jets. All you need is the Bills to win. Who cares about how much of a favorite they are? Again, last I checked, and I have the screenshot next. Actually, they are up 12-0 at halftime. I'm sure that third quarter is probably getting started right about now as I'm recording this video. So you guys would know at this moment what that would look like for the Buffalo Bills. If the Buffalo Bills win, cool, 1 team down, 2 more to go, and it would be 2 teams to win out of these next 4. You need the Cleveland Browns to win versus the Dolphins, which, by the way, they just announced this morning as well. Tua Tagovailoa will not be playing today. Tyreek Hill will be playing. Jalen Waddle will not be playing. So a couple of injuries, a couple of guys sitting out for the Miami Dolphins. Again, never root for injuries, but a little bit of a positive as the Cleveland Browns were 3.5-point underdogs. That number may change now that there's no Tua Tagovailoa officially for the Miami Dolphins. Cleveland Browns, they can go in, take care of business versus the Dolphins. Cool, it's another win for the Rams. If not, again, Cleveland underdog technically, so maybe we don't really hang our hats on the Cleveland Browns. I don't think anyone really wants to do that, at least not with the Browns in general and their history. But the Minnesota Vikings, 1-point favorite versus the Green Bay Packers, another tough game. I'm not saying I expect the Vikings to win, but I expect it to be a battle. I expect it to be a close game. If the Vikings can take care of their business, that would also help the Rams. Browns, Vikings win, done deal, it's all good. If it doesn't happen, again, if both those teams lose, you then move on to the Washington Commanders situation, 3.5-point favorites versus the Atlanta Falcons. I think Washington can definitely take care of business versus the Atlanta Falcons and the rookie quarterback Michael Penix. We'll see. Again, can't hang your hat on any of these teams, but if 2 of those 3 teams win, great, then you're looking good. You need at least one of those teams to win, though, Sunday afternoon. One of those teams needs to take care of business, at least one of the 3, because if that can be the case, then you move on to the San Francisco 49ers on Monday Night Football. A kind of a weird situation where the Rams fans would have to again, I'm not going to go hard and root for them, but you kind of have to root for the San Francisco 49ers on Monday if this scenario happens and say only the Vikings take care of business or only the Commanders, which is realistic, I think. Only the Commanders win their game and Minnesota loses to Green Bay in a close, hard-fought battle and Cleveland loses to Miami because they're just Cleveland. You can have a situation where Washington Commanders, they take care of business versus Atlanta, which is the most likely, I feel, and then you're looking at the San Francisco 49ers versus the Detroit Lions, and the Rams would have to really root for the Niners at that point to beat the Detroit Lions, which would be a really tough ask on Monday Night Football. And if that doesn't happen, right, if somehow, some way, the Bills are probably going to take care of business, right? But if somehow, some way, all 3 out of 4 of those teams lose their games, the Seattle Seahawks matchup does matter for the Rams. So just want to make that note. The Seattle Seahawks game could matter if these teams don't take care of business. At least 3 of these teams don't take care of business. So that's where we're at right now. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know how you guys are feeling about these games. Are you ready to root for the Niners if it comes down to it? Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Josh Giron. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button right now before you head out. Let's do it. Go Rams. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully we can clinch the playoffs by tomorrow so we can make a video about how we clinched and how excited we are to get into the playoffs and see some playoff matchups moving forward. Again, I'm your host, Josh Giron. That's going to do it for me, and I am out.